Hello, I'm Keon Schulman of Poison Free Malibu, and Joel Schulman is here. And we're very excited to be here for P22 Day. And we would like to speak about rodent control without poisoning our children, pets, and wildlife. Our mission is to educate the public about the problems with pesticides, how they affect the wildlife food web and our total environment, and to offer viable solutions. Pesticides are in the air that we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, and they are absorbed through our skin. The overall health of our children, pets, and wildlife and environment is our goal. We go about doing this through various methods of educating the public, through businesses and governments, investigating various shopping malls, restaurants, schools, parks, HOAs, and other users of pesticides. And we encourage cities, counties, and states to take appropriate protection against these poisons. In 2012, we read an article in the Malibu Surfside News, among many articles, about the poisoning of our wildlife by Suzanne Goodman and Anne Sobel. To our shock, this article mentioned that a mountain lion, P25, was found dead on a hiking trail in Point Mugu State Park in Malibu. Upon investigating what was going on, we found out that P25 was contaminated with rat poison. How does it happen that poisoned mice can kill a mountain lion? You can see by this diagram what is going on. The poison bait box located at the bottom is where the mice would enter and then exit. There is nobody in the box. These rodents will stay alive for 10 days in a drugged, slow state, making easy prey for all of the predators. All of the predators on this chart are being affected all the way up to the mountain lion. What we found was various research studies describing how not only mountain lions were being poisoned, but 80 to 90% of our local wildlife that was studied was also being poisoned, including bobcats, coyotes, owls, hawks. All of these predator wildlife was being poisoned that feed upon mice and rat population. The statistics were phenomenal. We then went to the Malibu City Council and asked for a resolution against the use of the worst poisons that were being used at that time, the anticoagulant rat poisons. Our resolution states, the City Council urges businesses in Malibu to no longer use or sell these anticoagulant rodent poisons, and urges all property owners to cease purchasing or using these poisons on their properties in Malibu, and commits the City of Malibu not to use these rodent poisons as part of their maintenance program for city parks and facilities. Thank you, the City of Malibu.
Based on this example of Malibu, we went to other cities around the Santa Monica Mountains and other open space areas, and were delighted at the enthusiastic reception we received from city councils in these other 11 Southern California cities who enthusiastically passed similar resolutions discouraging the population to please do not use these dangerous rat poisons, and committing the city to not use the poisons on its own property. These cities joined with 17 other Northern California cities who have similar resolutions. We would love to help you get similar resolutions at the city that you live in. Please contact us and we will give you the benefit of our experience.
In 2016, the City of Malibu stopped the use of all pesticides on city property and requested an earth-friendly management policy be established. In 2019, the earth-friendly management policy was adopted. This green policy means protection of the environment, addressing issues critical to sustainability, clean air and water, managing carbon through regenerative soil management, and eliminating fossil fuel-dependent fertilizers, and all pesticides. Malibu City property has been pesticide-free since 2016. It established an earth-friendly management policy banning the use of all pesticides. The city has no bait boxes on city property. It also established an ordinance requiring locked dumpsters to control the trash. The city revolves around a step-up approach that's been very successful for the past 4 years. It emphasizes sanitation, teaching, environmental enrichment, preventative actions, and the universal policy, the precautionary principle.
The next two slides are a review of the multiple legislative and regulatory actions that are in progress. It's kind of complicated, but we did want to give you a heads up on what's happening. Number one, the big barrier, a very large barrier, is what's called preemption. Preemption prevents localities like cities and counties from regulating pesticides on their own in any way, shape, or form. They are blocked. And that's a special law that the agriculture and pest control industries bought through their legislature for this very purpose. They didn't want to be controlled by pesky cities and counties that want to protect their citizens and wildlife. Historically, it actually started with Mendocino County. Their children were being sprayed with herbicides from a nearby orchard. And the agriculture and pest control industries sued Mendocino County, saying you can't do that. And they lost a chain of battles in the courts all the way to the California Supreme Court. But no problem. They sent their lobbyists to the legislature and bought a new law, which we call preemption over pesticides, to take away the ability of local jurisdictions and to specifically reverse that California Supreme Court decision. So that's why your city or county cannot do anything in general. However, anyone can choose not to use pesticides on their own property, and that includes cities. So cities can ban the use of pesticides on property that is owned by the city, like parks and buildings. We, in the future, would like to fight this preemption law. And with the leadership of the city of Malibu 2 years ago, we went to the League of California Cities, which is the organization of all the cities of California. It doesn't have a legal status, it cannot pass legislation, but it is a lobbying group in a sense, among other things. And the League passed a resolution in September 2018 agreeing that preemption is bad and that anticoagulant rodent poisons should be under the control of any city or county that wanted to control them and even stop them. For example, cities around the Santa Monica Mountains with its wonderful but vulnerable wildlife. So the League has a lot of resources that can be used to lobby the legislature, that's where the action really is, to reverse preemption. And the plan is, in the future, is we need a legislator somewhere to introduce a bill to reverse preemption. And this is our plan for the future, to find a legislature, write a bill, and finally counter what the pesticide lobby bought 20 or 30 years ago. Continuing, other action that's happening is that in 2014, because of the obvious devastation that was occurring to the wildlife and the documentation of that by academics and the National Park Service and the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, the California Department of Pesticide Regulation passed new regulations that banned the consumer use of second-generation anticoagulant rodent poisons. In other words, ordinary citizens could not go to their hardware store and buy these particularly virulent kinds of rat poison. Now, we and others actually told the Department of Pesticide Regulation that this was actually not going to work. The reason is the great majority of this particular kind of virulent rat poison, second-generation anticoagulant, is put out by the pest control companies in those hard plastic boxes that we showed you earlier, which allows the rodents to come in, eat the poison, go out, and then poison up the food chain. That's where hundreds of these bait boxes are. They're put out by the pest control service companies at homes, at shopping centers, at businesses, even at schools. So we actually told the Department of Pesticide Regulation, thank you very much, but this is not going to work. But they insisted and said, well, we'll see what happens. Well, 4 years later, it didn't work. The statistics were just as bad as ever in terms of the poisoning of the wildlife. But actually, Department of Pesticide Regulation, even though this was obvious, wasn't doing anything about it. So we actually had to sue them. So in 2018, led by Raptors Are the Solution, the CDPR was sued, which motivated them to actually do what they should have done. They recognized that their previous action didn't work, so they are doing what is called a reevaluation of the second generation anticoagulants, which could take years. There's no prediction on when they will finish. So because of this delay and uncertainty, we have tried very hard from 2016 with a coalition to ban the rodenticides legislatively through the legislature because the Department of Pesticide Regulation was not doing its job. We failed 3 times, learning at every stage. Finally, in 2020, with the help of the Animal Legal Defense Fund, we really would like to give them credit, who sponsored a lobbyist who helped tremendously, we did pass AB 1788. What it does is ban second-generation anticoagulants, the same ones we've been talking about, while Department of Pesticide Regulation is going through its reevaluation, with some exceptions. The exceptions include agriculture and food processing. It's not a 100% ban. In parallel with this effort, here is another thing we've been doing, is working in the coastal zone. The coastal zone, I don't know if you've heard about it or not, is a special state-designated area. It has special laws that come from the state. Because they're state laws and not local laws, you actually can ban rodenticides and actually any pesticide in the coastal zone, which has a very complicated boundary. You have to actually go to the web and Google the boundary for your area if you're interested. It's not that predictable, but we did it in Malibu. We actually banned pesticides in Malibu and also unincorporated Los Angeles County north of Malibu in the Santa Monica Mountains using the special powers of the Coastal Commission in the coastal zone. So if you're near the beach and you're wondering if you're in the coastal zone or not, go look it up and contact us and we'll help you through this kind of complicated procedure. A very important action that goes along with banning rodenticides is you have to get rid of the source of the breeding of rodents, which is, in commercial areas, trash, which is not maintained in dumpsters as it should be. So in Malibu, we have created an ordinance. An ordinance is a law. It's more than a resolution, where trash dumpsters must be closed and locked and secure against rodents so that rodents are not bred. Here is a picture of Governor Newsom signing our bill AB 1788, a very joyous day, which a tremendous amount of work was done by a large number of people. Again, it's just a moratorium while new regulations are formulated. But you can see on the upper right, Richard Bloom is there. He was the sponsor of the bill. Henry Stern was an author right below Richard Bloom. And actually, there's like 20 or 30 other people, including us, on this Zoom call that the governor invited us to participate in while he signed the legislation. It was a great and fun event. But this law and the other laws are not complete. They don't do the total job. I already mentioned that the ban does not apply to agriculture farms, and food processing. And there are a couple of other exemptions also. But it also doesn't cover all the rat poisons we wanted it to cover. It only covers second generation, which are the worst. But for example, it doesn't cover first generation anticoagulant poisons, which are an earlier version, but and difascinone is the prime example. Even though they're nominally less powerful, there's actually about 3 times as much of this stuff used all over than the second generation. There's a tremendous amount of it. And if you total it all up, it's not at all clear which is worse. Because, for example, first generation anticoagulant is what poisoned P22, if you've heard of him, because this is his event, several years ago. He was found, that's a picture of him, after being exposed to the first generation rat poison. Luckily, he is being followed rather closely, as we know. He was rescued, he was given medicine to cure him, and he has been okay since then, but he's still very vulnerable to eating more animals that have eaten the poisoned rats, and this could happen again, and we hope it doesn't. But first generation anticoagulants are terrible, and we have to keep working on getting rid of them too. The second exception to the incomplete coverage of the laws is that now that anticoagulants are becoming more shunned, which they should be, there will be a big emphasis on other really bad rat poisons which are not anticoagulants. By the way, anticoagulant means what it says. It means it stops the blood from coagulating. So any small cut, either internally or externally in the animal, will cause a non-stop bleeding until the animal is dead. That's what anticoagulant means. Bromethylene, for example, doesn't do that. It's like at least as awful, or even worse. It just completely destroys the brain of the poor creature. And for example, very recently, just last July, a mom, P67, which had 2 beautiful kittens that are shown here, was found dead. Now this mom, P67, did not die directly from the rat poison. She had all kinds of problems. But why would she have problems like that? Why was she incapable of hunting, for example? And why was she having these other internal problems? Well, it would be surprising if rat poison, which was detected in her system, 5 different anticoagulant rodenticide types, and bromethylene, which is this awful other kind of rat poison, were found in her system. That's obviously going to make her incapable of functioning and become vulnerable to all kinds of other problems. So even if she didn't die directly, it'd be surprising if it didn't contribute to her incapacitation. So these at the bottom are these other rat poisons. Bromethylene we mentioned, cholecalciferol, which has this wonderful name, vitamin D3. Don't be fooled, it's really bad. Zinc phosphide, strychnine, and there are other non-anticoagulants which are terrible. It is important to see the effects of the rat poisons on the animals. First, we're showing you these mountain lions. The Fish and Wildlife Department has tested 252 mountain lions in 37 counties. That's really extensive throughout California. And they have found that 96% of them have some level of poison in their systems. The caption on the right says that 4 different compounds were found in this particular mountain lion. It's important to understand what this implies. It means that the animals are living in an ocean of poison, where the first victims, the mice and rats, have sampled poisons from many different sources and many different products. That's how you get 4 different kinds of ingredients. So it's just a question of how much poison they have in the system, how long they keep eating poison animals. That determines how sick that they get. And that's the situation that they find themselves in. Bobcats are really big victims. They frequently die indirectly from anticoagulants. the anticoagulants, instead of making them bleed to death, make them vulnerable, sort of destroys their immune system to this disease called mange, which is a bug which completely infests their skin and creates a situation on the right there where they can't function. It destroys their eyesight, and they die of the mange before they die of the bleeding. That's common with the bobcats, not universal, but it is common. And 92% of bobcats in 5 Southern California counties were found to have some amount of anticoagulants in their system when their blood was tested, or for bobcats that died, when their livers were examined. Blood and livers are the 2 locations that they check for these poisons. Coyotes do die from the bleeding. Unlike bobcats, they do die directly from the bleeding. Again, 90% of coyotes approximately have anticoagulants. They don't all die, but even if they don't die, like what happened with P67, they're in bad shape. Can they hunt? Can they take care of their young? Can they cross the road? A lot of the car collisions may be attributable to animals not being able to cross a road effectively, stumbling across and being vulnerable to cars hitting them. That's something that's been noticed anecdotally. Owls and hawks, big victims. They certainly eat the mice and rats directly, right after being poisoned. This happens in neighborhoods. We're seeing this in neighborhoods. Somebody will be using the poisons, and it could just be one household, and like all the owls in the neighborhood like start dropping on the ground, and people find them in their driveways and their lawns. For example, this has happened here in Malibu. A particular neighborhood has contacted us multiple times because they're finding these barn owls on the ground. It's really sad, and the neighborhood's very upset, but they cannot figure out who's actually using the poisons. That's a goal. Find the person and try to convince them that this is a bad thing to do. And the amazing thing is, barn owls in particular are one of the most effective rodent control animals there are. They eat a tremendous amount of mice and rats, and when you kill them, you're making your problem way worse. So it's absolutely ridiculous.
After studying this for so many years, since 2012, we've come up with the solution. Instead of poisons, we advise people to see red instead of poisons. Repel, exclude, and deter. There are many ways to repel mice and rats. There is the mint varieties that they can't stand to smell, plus other various varieties of plants that one can use. Lavender, rosemary, sage, marigolds can be planted. Also, there's other products that are available on the market now that were not there before. There's a lot of good organic choices that one could make that have these repellent qualities in them. If you don't have a garden, they do have essential oils of peppermint, spearmint, and garlic oils on these various products. Also, we have a motion detector water spray that works very well, and strobe lights also work very well. On the professional level, we have gotten many good reports about Propel. That is used on commercial buildings, on homes. It is sprayed around the building. It is made up of the peppermint, rosemary, and citronelle oils. These are all the smells that rodents hate, and we have found this has worked very well.
Cool.
Exclusion is uttermost important. All buildings must be sealed. You can do it yourself or hire a rodent exclusion company, not a pesticide company. A pesticide company sells you poisons. They might also seal your home, but they will also try to sell you a package deal where they line your home or properties with these poison bait boxes so they can make their monthly monies. So it's also important here is you do not overfill your trash cans or dumpsters. This has been the major problem in the 11 cities that we've been working with. that the trash bins are open, they have no lids, they have warped lids, they're overstuffed frequently where they can't be closed, and this is what's causing the huge influx of rodents in a commercial or home area. So trash is absolutely essential that be contained. Check your barbecue. That must be cleaned after every time. Your garage doors, having those sweeps at the bottom. You could also have underground barriers. These pea gravel trench barriers work really well, 6 inches down and 2 feet wide. They can't dig down underneath. Here's an example of what was happening in Malibu and a lot of the majority of the cities that we've been working with. This is what a dumpster looks like. Go behind your shopping malls and see what it looks like before the dumpster companies come and pick up the trash. You will see the overflow. You will see the dumpster lids maybe are not suitable and they're warped. So the solution here, as we found here in Malibu, we created a lid lock ordinance, and this was this is what it should look like with that lock in place, where it prevents unauthorized access, overstuffing, and guarantees a lockable lid. No garbage, no rats, no poisons, and save money. It is also essential, as we said before, to exclude. And again, you could do it yourself. Look around your house, look for those pipes that go into your wall, look for those washing machine outlets, pipes, etc., and make sure that they are all sealed up. Again, hire a rodent proofing exclusion company. A lot of them have guarantees for several years. It is not necessary to kill rodents outside the building to protect the inside. Deter. Again, we need to deter these mice and rats, so we need to keep those barbecues cleaned. Pet food, please do not leave it outside. Let them eat outside and bring them in. Also bird seeds. Bird seeds need to be controlled. They spill the seeds all over the ground, and this promotes the rodents to come and feed on the ground seeds. So what I've done personally is I take out 1 tray of seeds in the morning, and I allow my birds to have a nice breakfast at my place, and I remove the whole tray later. So there is no seeds available for any other little creatures available. Pet feces is also another issue. Clean up the fallen fruit, use these tree cuffs, and remove debris, vegetation, plants that feed and conceal rodents such as ivy. Again, we have the motion detector sprays that we hear very good examples from. They are solar powered and easy to use. Also, strobe lights work very well. Either around your house or inside of your car. A lot of people have rodents inside of their car and have that issue. We have a lot of information on rodents inside your car on our website.
Here's something that's a really great solution for open spaces like schoolyards, ball fields, parks, open spaces at homeowners associations, etc. Ventura County, they had a serious issue with their water control structures, namely dams and levees. They have to work. They do have a dangerous situation when it rains a lot, that the water has to go in the right direction, and they have a whole system there to make sure that that happens. But a lot of them are made of dirt, and squirrels were burrowing into the dams and levees, weakening them and endangering the whole system. It cannot be allowed. So they had a whole bunch of poison all over the place to kill the squirrels. But they have a good government there. They were aware of this issue of wildlife poisoning, and they had some enlightened leadership. They said, let's try to really promote raptors, namely hawks and owls, along one of the levees, about a mile long, as a test. They removed all the poison, They put up raptor poles, you could see in the lower right. They put up owl boxes to promote owls. And they waited a year and they studied the levees, and they found 66% fewer squirrel burrows with this raptor control method compared to their previous use of poisons, which they were still using in other levees, so they could make a direct comparison. Better than poison. So this is a great way to control rodents in open spaces.
So here are some reasons to be poison-free. Reducing harm. Poisons cause inhumane deaths and pose significant risk to people, pets, and wildlife. Let's restore our ecosystems. Poisons disrupt vital ecosystem functions by degrading habitats and disturbing food webs. And let's all save some money. Preventative measures that make poisons unnecessary eliminate the cost of perpetual reliance on them.
And here is our contact information. Please look at our website, which has a lot of information both on the dangers to wildlife and alternative solutions. And email us if you'd like us to help you with any of these crusades that we mentioned, like getting your city to pass a resolution or the coastal zone or whatever else you'd like to join our group of extended coalition for future action. Please email us and take a look at our website. Thank you very much.
One or two persons can ignite the spark of the voice of their communities. The mothers, fathers, and those who care about the environment, schools, and public recreation areas where children and pets play, and end the use of these pervasive, unnecessary pesticides. Thank you very much.